Today, we'll be looking at an important setup in the extrusion line process, and it's the dual coil payoff and take-off point. This is essential for a continuous and efficient wire or cable production. So, for an efficient and a continuous wire and cable production, a dual payoff point is an important setup in the extrusion line process. Because if our extrusion line process should stop for 1 minute, you wouldn't like it, because one, it will generate waste, because for us to get another molting piece for the extrusion, it will take another time to breed the extruder a molten PVC. So we wouldn't want that time, wasting of resources. So because of that, this dual payoff and take-off point will help us not to observe or to encounter such during our extrusion line process. It helps our extrusion line process not to get halted. So with this dual take-off and payoff point, we can be able to run an efficient continuous wire or cable production. And understanding how this works, it will help us to prevent this downtime and also to maintain a high production speed during the extrusion line. So the payoff and the take-off point. So here you can see this is a cone payoff point. This is a cone payoff point. We have other payoff points. We have the basket payoff point. We have other payoff points, but for this particular extrusion, using the cone payoff and our take-off point is still a dual take-off point. So at this point, we're also making use of two reels. So that's why we call it the dual payoff point and the dual that helps us maintain an efficient and a continuous wire or so follow through the end of this class and how this dual payoff and dual take-off production point works. Let's start from the payoff point. What is a payoff in cable extrusion? What is a payoff? Okay, a payoff is the equipment that releases the wire or cable into the extrusion line. It is where the process begins. So is the wire from it releases the wire from the reel and it feeds the wire into our production this wire the reels, and then it feeds it into the production line for extrusion line process. Payoff is that equipment out of the extrusion line process. That is where our extrusion line process starts. So that releases the wire from, and then it feeds it into the extrusion line process or our production line. That is what we call payoff. It have different designs, different shapes, different styles. So, but no matter the style, just know that at that starting point where our wire is being released from the from that certain point and is now being fed into the production line. That is what we refer to as a payoff. So now we are talking about a dual payoff. You know dual now? Dual means two. That means at this point now we are using two of this equipment to feed the wire into the production line, our extrusion line. So we are using two of this equipment to feed this wire into the production line. So, and this allows for continuous feeding of the wire into the line without stopping. It allows it. With this dual equipment, we can feed in our wires continuously into the production line until you are done with your production for that day or for that moment. So with this dual coil payoff, we can run a continuous production line until we are done with the number of cables or the quantity of cable you want to produce for that time or for that day. One coil or reel, you can either call it a coil or the reel. One coil or reel payoff, while the second is prepared. What do I mean? One of the reels, remember we are talking about dual coil payoff. So one pays off, like one is feeding into the production line, while the second one is being prepared, is being kept and for getting ready for an automatic changeover. And this machine automatically switches to the second coil once the one that is paying off, the one that is feeding into the production line, once it finishes, it automatically switches to the second one. How do we achieve this? One, the inner end of the reel, the one already feeding into the production line, the inner end, the tip of that reel, of that wire, the inner end of the wire is being tied to the outer end of the one prepared, waiting for the switching that we use to switch over. So that the inner end of the one feeding into the production line is tied to the outer end of the one prepared, waiting to be changed once the one feeding into the production line finishes. So immediately that one feeding into the production line finishes, it automatically switches over to the second coil, and that one automatically starts feeding into the production line. So once that one starts feeding, then you now say, okay, this one now is the one that is now the coil that pays off. Then you bring another coil and also you keep that one prepared, waiting for this one that is feeding into the production line. Once it finishes, before it finishes, you've already noted that one, the inner end to the outer end of the one kept prepared. Once this coil finishes, it automatically switches over to the second to the prepared coil and to start feeding into the production line. So this dual coil payoff, it allows for a continuous feeding of the wire into the production line without stopping. It allows it, that's how it continuously feeds into the production line without halting. With this, our production line doesn't get halted, which will cost us time. It will generate waste in bringing the production line again, the PVC again, to be in a molten form. So with this, I believe you understand, one, that this dual coil is the equipment that releases wire into the production line, and it allows for continuous feeding into the production line. So this is what a dual coil payoff means, and this is also from today's class. We also learned how it works. So I can say in summary, why use dual payoff points? And is because one, there is no need to stop to change reel. Let's say for instance you are just using one take up point. You have to stop first and then so that we can change the reel. But no, at this point you have to it runs automatically. Once this one finishes, it changes to the other one, and the production line process continues. And then secondly, it reduces downtime. We will save the time we would have used to wait again to breathe for the extruder to breathe, or so that the PVC will be molting again. It reduces that time. It reduces the down, and thirdly, it increases productivity. Like our extruder machine, it spools at the speed of 1,000 meters per minute. Like in a minute, you can produce one roll of cable in a minute. So with this dual payoff, you can continuously run your production, and it increases your production. It increases productivity. You can achieve more in a limited time, and it is the best for a long production line and a high-speed extruder. Imagine halting and stopping a high-speed extruder because we want to change the reel. But with this dual coil payoff, it is best when you are running a high-speed extrusion or a production that will take a long time. So it is the best. So in high volume cable manufacturing, every minute counts. So but with this dual coil payoff system, you don't need to shut down probably to do a real changeover. No, but the switching is seamless. It runs continuously. So in a high volume cable manufacturing, dual coil system is the best. And in Shineworld Group, here in Shineworld, we produce these machines. So if you want to get this dual coil payoff, contact us today. Chat us up for those in cable manufacturing, in production already, or you want to start up a cable manufacturing company, you can contact us at Shineworldgroup. We produce cable manufacturing machines. So here we have the take-off point. This take-off point, the take-off is the machine that collects cable or wire after extrusion. You remember we're talking about our payoff and takeoff in extrusion line. So extrusion is our process. Quickly is the process whereby our wire is being coated, and once our wire is being insulated using the PVC, we now refer to it as a cable, no longer a wire. So now this machine that collects this finished product is refers to as the take-off machine. So it winds the finished product onto the reel, and it maintains a proper tension you won't see the wind wheel or pop out from its position. It maintains a proper tension while winding it on the wheel. It also orderly winding for easy storage and honest processing step. Let's say that the cable needs to be further processed, so it's an orderly winding or next processing step. So now we are talking about take-off points. Remember, we're talking about a dual take-off point, but this point can either be single, it can be a single take-off, it can be a dual, like for a non-stop process. It can also be a basket, or it can also be a drum type take-off. So, but whatever type of take-off, just know that takes the finish is refers to as taking. Just as we said at the beginning, that the take off, then now the take off end. So what if take off align may be wasted. You need to open everything before taking up station line, because you cannot be throwing your wires on the floor or it will just be scattering like that. No, it will even cause bends, kinks, a lot of things, damages to your wire. So that's why we need our pay off and we also need our take off during our production line process. So how then does this take off production line work? How does it work? How does it work? I believe you're learning great things today. Remember to follow. Is it follow or subscribe button you're seeing there? Please remember to click on it. Either follow us on Facebook if you're watching from Twitter or Instagram or YouTube. If it's YouTube, please do well to subscribe, or other social media platform, please do well to follow us. So now, how does this take off point works? One, we have a thing called the accumulator. Once the coil, we already want one that is already taking up the wires is coming, and we have one or prepared waiting, an empty reel waiting. So once that one on the production line finishes, the accumulator have already sensed, because our machine works automatically and it has control panels. Once it's already getting reeved or filled up, the accumulator will start expanding, accumulating enough cable that is coming to the production line. At that point, it's expanding, accumulating those cables, and at that point, you just switch off the control click on the off stop button on your control panel and quickly cut and remove the already filled reel. Then you put the new reel. Remember, at this point, the incoming wire from the production line is entering the accumulator, and it is being time that within that time whereby the accumulator is expanding, the removing of the already filled coil can be achieved. So once you have already removed the filled one, and then you impute the inner end into the hole, and also still making out a space in case of payoff if the reel will still be used for another production. So at this point now, once you have already put the cable mouth on the reel, the accumulator will start coming back immediately, using all the cables that it has accumulated. on the reel, and it will be coming back, and the production line will start working again, running continuously without being halted. And this is how the take-off points work. So what are the common issues that we encounter in these dual take-off and pay-off points in execution line process? One of them is what? Tension mismatch between payoff and take-off. This is majorly setting problem during setting up. So most times you can see tension mismatch between the payoff and the take-off. Or the second one is what? Improper reel loading. Why putting your reel? Improper positioning of the reel. These are some of the problems we encounter. We also encounter improper switch over during this dual coil payoff. During switch over and improper switch over during this dual payoff. And we also observe coil not being properly centered. These are some of the common problems we encounter in this dual coil payoff and take-off process. Also make sure that you always align your coil properly, because all these things are not properly aligned. It causes problem in the production line, and also during the take-off point, it causes some issues during the winding. So make sure that you align your coil properly, and also check
trendybeats.com
settings well before starting the production line, and also always monitor synchronization system. One thing about Shineworld machines is that our machines have control panels. It has control panels, and not just that, it also has HMI. That's the device that displays the whole setting. So even while this production line is already running, you can use you can be monitoring. You're supposed to be monitoring your control panel to ensure that everything is properly synchronized. Make sure that everything is working perfectly. So the last one is to maintain a regular servicing. Service your machine so that it will remain healthy, and also it will also increase your productivity. It helps you
if you do nothing else for me.
So that is it for this payoff, dual payoff and take-off point. That is it for this dual payoff, take-off point. So if you have any question, please do well to drop it on the comment section. And remember that Shineworldgroup, we sell this cable manufacturing machine. We sell the parts. If you want to improve your production line, you can contact Shine for an upgrade production line, or a cable manufacturing. You can contact Shineworldgroup, help you from start to the finish. We will follow up the whole, produce this machine, the agreement with you. We send them, we ship these machines, and then we start up the whole, we install them, start the whole installation process, and then after we train workers, we train your workers, and your cable manufacturing starts working smoothly. So thank you for your time in this class, for this class. Now you can tell what the equipments are, some of the issues or problems and how we can solve them. Any question, please drop your question in the. Thank you.